wanted to give you an update on what's going on with the open source, quote unquote, Graal project. The game is called JEST. The software is called JEST. I have it in C++ now. I also have it in JavaScript. So the C++ version is lagging behind a bit, but it's come along a long way. So I've got the back-end engine of it basically going, which is magnificent. That was the biggest fucking part. Now it's about getting the pieces and parts and the logic going that is part of the JavaScript version. So if you're looking here, you can see that I have a number of files in this folder, and a lot of them are just test files or whatever. Some of them are just, the includes, which is where all the work is going down. If you check out this here, I can double click the thing and it opens up this little C++ program. And so in the C++ program, you can see I have basically the G&E system's working. It's loading images remotely, so they're not from your local computer. It's parsing them and processing them separately, and there's good mutexes in place. The C++ version, as you can see, I can move around the users in there. So what I now have to start to implement is like levels and tile sets and starting to add the new logic. So I have a new online mode for the JavaScript. And that's going to need to be implemented into C++ as well. So a lot of that involves kind of revamping some of the way that the stuff was processed, breaking down the user and the guest into separate classes that are descending from, base classes for connecting to, the human prototype. And then if you look in here, I will show you this big update. I do have so somebody the other day basically was able to log in, just as on a side note, somebody else was able to log in on my web host, and they were able to get this plugin working on their end. This just was like a freak thing. Somebody who was interested, they started asking me how to do it. And they got it like pulled up on my web host, which was pulling files and levels and stuff remotely from my server. So that was really a cool experience. That was, I think, Juno or something. I'll have to double check his name. But anyway, he was the first person to try this beta JavaScript out and walk around on levels that were remotely hosted on my server, which was super cool. But now what I have now is really interesting is there is a new WebSockets class. It's not in the open source version. That is on my computer. Let's see, I don't know why this is freezing. Of course, it's freezing while I'm talking. I'm trying to get stuff going. It's not just this, it looks like the Firefox itself is freezing for some reason. Hold on a second. For some reason, Firefox is freezing. I don't know what's going on with it. But anyways, maybe the server went down. No, it should be logged in. Okay, yeah. So you can see here, it's a little laggy because it's on both screens here, and I'm filming at the same time. But I do have, and there's, you can see here if you move, suddenly the other screen registers it. So anyway, I do have like this kind of light online mode. And of course, it's really laggy because I'm running both of these on the same computer with video software and all kinds of stuff recording all at the same time. But you can see both different screens. These are two separate browsers. They are connecting to a server. So they're connecting to a WebSocket server, and both the data is being sent back and forth, and the application now registers characters, like different players. Like I said, I'd broken down the user into separate classes. And so basically this is kind of the first quote unquote start of the NPC system. And this NPC system is basically starting as the online player mode. So you have two player objects being registered at the same time. And in the system, they're being registered as NPCs in basically a global kind of like NPCs class, or not class, but pile, a container within a class that handles those global objects. So that's being taken care of. There are two players showing up on the screen now. You can see them if you sign in from two different browsers. It connects to the server, and you can walk around, and the other person can see you walk around and moving, and all this stuff. I have not implemented hit detection for like swords and stuff yet, but you can see that there are now, in fact, two people who are able to explore the world together. So that is, most importantly, because the idea is that we're creating a game engine. Whether or not I keep it open source, I don't know that I will. But if I do, then, you guys will be able to have your own online modes and stuff. And all this stuff is coded in modern JavaScript coding standards. And you guys, despite what you've been told from these lying admins who've stolen my stuff and these other people, I have been a professional programmer for decades. I didn't just start coding as a kid and then give up one day and then end up, what am I? I'm almost 40 years old. I didn't just end up almost 40 years old with no skill sets. Like this, we're living in this weird community where you people are retarded. And I mean that like in the most brutal of ways. Most of you are retarded. Like, people have come to this idea that like I have no programming skills, I have no game design skills, I have no graphics skills, I have no visions, I have no talents, I've never done anything with my life, I have no marketing capabilities, I don't know how servers work, I don't know how anything works. It's like they have this idea that like I made some things when I was fucking 12 years old in the late 90s, and then I turned 40 years old and I never changed as a person, grew, or did anything with myself. And that's just hilarious to me. It's hilarious to me because like I don't live in your guys' world of rumors and gossip. Like I live outside of that. I've lived decades. I've worked in marketing agencies. I've been I've coded my own content management systems. I have won awards for my programming at some of these agencies. I've helped pioneer some of the iPad development in the web, and not like for the iPad, but like in the web design aspect sphere. So there was an area where we were switching from Flash to JavaScript, and we needed to showcase websites that would work for the iPad. So the reason Flash went out, I did a Flash game back. You can find it on my DeviantArt thing, but I did like a Flash game that was kind of Graal. It's basically like Graal, but with like the Bomby Boppets in it. I did that back in, I think, 2008 when I was in college. So I went to school for video game design. Not that it matters, but like I did learn some stuff there. But most of the stuff I've learned is self-taught. But I did learn some major stuff in college. Absolutely, I did. But anyways, so there was a time when we were switching out of Flash as an industry, as in the tech world, because I think it was Steve Jobs mainly, and I don't know if there was somebody else pushing him behind it, but Apple no longer wanted to support Flash. They wanted everybody to kind of get off Flash and switch to JavaScript, which I actually prefer. I'm glad that they did that. But for a long time there, it was very difficult for me because most of us were doing web-based stuff in Flash. So anyways, I ended up helping to kind of push the boundaries. So like when the iPad first came out, my agency won an award. I think we were in like the top 3 or something, or top 4 or 5. So like we were creating this website that was built entirely in Flash, and it was not in Flash, in JavaScript, and it was kind of like a video game. It was called like the one canvas idea. So like the entire website was one giant canvas. And so everything had to be extremely optimized because you had to load an entire web page on the first iPad, which was a primitive device. It wasn't that primitive, but it was primitive enough. And so you had to load like hundreds of images, and like all the pages were like on one giant canvas, and you could scroll around and you could swipe your finger on it. And so this was before like touch screen stuff and all that mobile stuff was highly implemented into JavaScript. Was very new. So anyways, I had created like this big giant canvas. It was kind of like this virtual interactive quote unquote video game type situation as a website. So it was a website where you could get all of your content through this one giant canvas. But like I had coded that. And so, And it was the coding that won the award, basically. It was being able to execute this, incredible JavaScript website on the first tablet. That was right after we had got rid of Flash. So you were no longer allowed to do Flash on tablets. And tablets were now replacing a lot of things. So this is why Flash is discontinued by Adobe. And so anyway, JavaScript started replacing that. I had won awards. We went to South by Southwest and stuff. We got pulled into those finalists. So people have this idea that I have no background. I've done nothing with myself for the last 25 years, which is freaking retarded. You guys live in a retarded world. That's all I have to tell you guys. You just live in a retarded world. I've been programming for decades. I'm better at it than I've ever been. I'm at the top of my game. So anyway, my point with saying this is that the JavaScript engine that I'm creating for you guys, if I continue to release it open source, it's very well coded. It's very well coded. It's better. It's, it's not so there's a lot of things where people are trying to revamp old Graal versions or Graal Java applets. No, this thing's built from the ground up. This is JavaScript 100, top to bottom, using modern coding standards and HTML5 if needed. This is definitely compliant with most browsers. It might not work in all browsers. I haven't cross-browser tested it, but it at least works in Firefox for now. But the JavaScript underlying it does, and you should be able to transport that to other browsers. You just have to know how to do that. I'm not going to go through all those steps right now because the point is I have to keep continuing to get the software going to a point where it's basically completely replicating Graal. That's the end game, and it's coming pretty close there. You can see, I'm kind of jumping ahead now, and I just and basically for me, coding engines and content management systems is simple. I've been doing it for decades. For you guys who haven't, you guys created this narrative that I have no skills and haven't been doing these things. I just want you guys to realize all of that's fiction. It's gossip. For me, I'm not, one of the reasons I am jumping ahead to the online mode is because it's easy for me. My thoughts are, if I can get a foundation going, people can feel secure with that. But implementing NPCs and all that other stuff, that's kind of the easier parts. I'm not saying it's the easiest because the engine wasn't completely built flexibly just for it just yet. It just isn't implemented yet is what I'm saying. It is built modularly, though, so that you can just easily put it in there. So that's the reason why I'm jumping ahead, because you should be able to easily just modularly put it in there. I've built it so you can do that. But anyways, the online mode is probably the better part because that's where people get to socialize. And the online mode, I think, is one of the harder things. It's probably one of the modes that most people are going to care about. So I'm just jumping ahead to it. And that is going, as you can see now, I have 2 players in 2 different browsers connecting to the same server. And this is information being sent back from the servers. So this is not connected, it's not being sent back and forth through my computer's browsers and stuff. This is through a server, a WebSocket server. And so you can see, as I slash the sword and move around and walk around the other player. And of course, the reason it's laggy is because I'm running 2 of these on the same computer, and also the server is being run on this computer, and also I'm videotaping with a screen recorder on this computer. So it's really not this laggy in real time, especially when it's just you opening up and playing it yourself. But yeah, so it's come a long way. I think we're kind of there. I don't really know exactly what I'm going to do fully next. I think I kind of need to switch to I think I kind of need to switch to the C++ version and get that going completely. As you can see, I have it's loading the animation system, it's loading Janny files, it's loading images remotely, it's loading the Janny files remotely, it's parsing it, it's handling all that stuff with different multi-threaded system, which is actually much better. With JavaScript, you don't really have a multi-threaded system, not truly. You kind of do, but you don't. But with C++, you do. And it's much more secure. So I really need to get that kind of just up to the same position that this is, and I'll feel much better about it. But the C++ version is coming along. I'm going to, moving forward, I will eventually just begin releasing this in beta versions. So it'll be beta. So kind of like at the point where Zelda Online was, where you just released Zelda Online beta mode, just kind of piggyback off of somebody else's system or stuff. Although with Graal, like that's basically like that's funded by my stuff, and a lot of that stuff is my stuff. So like it's not really just somebody else's system, but it's kind of the same situation where Stefan was, where like he did Zelda Online and then he kind of transitioned it over into a full like separate title. So where we're at now is we have like this kind of like Graal JavaScript beta version online system that's being step by step transformed into JEST. It'll be called JEST. So JEST will emerge from this. I'll be replacing graphics and building, the levels and new levels, and implementing some of the traditional levels that I have the copyrights to, but with different graphics and different modifications and stories, or similar stories that are inspired and just upgraded, and just getting the JEST story and all that stuff out there. So that will be moving forward. Right now, this is definitely very, very, very much a beta version. Also, if you guys want to follow and get more updates and be a part of the development community, we do have a small group of pretty exclusive, cool people there. You can see the Discord link to the this open source or this game, JEST game server for the Discord server in the description below. Feel free to join that. But anyway, I apologize for this very rough video. I just apologize for this very rough video and this rambling, but I think you guys get the idea. I just wanted to give you some fucking updates without having to put a bunch of time into the video. So there is an online mode now working, and the C++ version is coming along, and the game engine is coded very well, and it's very modular and professional.